Welcome to Be Customer Led, where we'll explore how leading experts in customer and employee experience are navigating organizations through their own journey to be customer led, and the actions and behaviors employees and businesses exhibit to get there. And now your host, Marbu Brown.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining me on Be Customer Led today. I've got to say that being with you and our guests makes my day every time, and today is no different. Once again, we're going to delve into one of those places where AI is making a real difference. It's delivering results, producing ROI, and I have an amazing guest to help us unpack this topic. It's Casey Denby, who is Vice President of Operations at Zenarate. Welcome to the program, Casey.
Thank you, Marbu. Pleasure to be here, my friend.
Hey, I'm so glad that you're able to join us for this today, and I know we're going to have some great content for our guests to sink their teeth into. But before we get started on our discussion about how AI is transforming CX, we'd like to give our audience a chance to get to know you better, a little bit more of the backstory of Casey. So could you share a bit with us about your career journey and how you came to be the VP of Operations at Zenarate?
Absolutely. Well, I'll start with a little bit of the personal. I grew up in the Seattle area. Didn't realize what sunshine was.
By the way,
it's great. It's a wonderful place in July. Didn't realize what sunshine was until I moved, or it was summer. And in Colorado now for over 16 years, been married to my wife for 18 years, and we have 4 children together. And Colorado is now home. But my Seattle sports is my loyalty resides there. That's where you'll see me cheering on my teams. I was actually going to school, and to put myself through school, I've always worked since I was a boy, and a paper route when I was 11 years old. You know, I was trying to make money, buy my first TV, all those fun things. So I was putting myself through college, and I ended up being the manager of a local Papa Murphy's franchise, which is Take a Bake Pizza. They're not all over the country in every state, but they are national. And I got a lot of my early business experience there. So I did that for over 3.5 years. And I had a dilemma at that time because I was offered partnership and regional position with the franchise owner, but I had to move to Tennessee, or I had a job offer with Dish Network in Colorado. And it was a hard decision, but ultimately we chose to go the corporate route. So that's how my corporate career started. And I started in BA, business analyst, right? And then had several operational roles. But every time I was doing a different role, there was a thread of, hey, I think Casey can help us train, or I think Casey can help us present. Loud, not afraid of a stage, and I guess I deliver a good presentation. So fast forward, I had stints at Comcast, jumped over to Western Union. I spent over 7 years there. And when I was at Western Union, I had various roles. So I started in a global operational program. I'm bilingual, speak English and Spanish. And in that, I ended up having to go do training all over the world, Marbu. It was really cool because I got that experience, and all of a sudden, you know, I kind of built this reputation of being the training guy. So my SVP of Ops at the time shoulder tapped me and said, hey, I'm going to reorg. I want you to lead all training and quality and knowledge and LMS, learning solutions, for the contact center. I said, okay. Knew nothing about it, right? Had never done that, had a few threads of it throughout my career, but never directly worked with the contact center with BPOs. So anyways, that ended up bringing me into a position where ultimately I purchased Zenarate, used it successfully in the early days. I was the 4th customer, went off to a different company a year or so after the purchase of Zenarate, led global training at Remax, the real estate company, and the CEO of Zenarate recruited me 2 years later, and I've been here for 4 years. So that's kind of my career journey. But it's important to note that even though, yes, I'm on a vendor side of the house right now, I'm an operator. I'm an implementer. That's my career. And global training and learning became a passion and actually a career path of mine. So there you go, long and the short of it.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Give us a little bit more insight into your psyche. But I'll tell you what, for people who are not that familiar with Zenarate, why don't you go ahead and give us an overview of what the company does?
I'm going to be real straightforward for everybody. We are the world's leading frontline simulation and coaching platform. I know that's very broad, but anybody that has ever had to do a role play, whether it's in grade school, whether it's at church or some sort of organization in the community, or whether it's at your job, whether you're, a teenager or an adult, I think everyone cringes when they have to do role play. But why do we do role play, Marbu? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, I mean, basically it's part of training. I mean, we do role play because we want people to have reps before they get on the field to actually play the game, right?
That's
and you
right.
know what happens when people don't have reps. I think we saw some of that on Sunday.
We absolutely do. It's like, you can see my golf clubs in the back here. It's like getting on the first tee, not having hit the driving range or not having practice. And you're like, oh my gosh. But the point is role play is effective when it's done appropriately. And so what Zenarate did was take all of the anxiety, all of the pain, all of the frustration, all of the awkwardness out of role play and automated it. So we were the world's first kind of frontline role play solution where any human to human conversation could be simulated. And it took off in the contact center world for obvious reasons. Scale, practicality, need.
Absolutely.
Hundreds of thousands, millions of people across the globe that are hired to represent a brand and just can't get the job. Frustrated, they leave early, high turnover, lots of frustration with the customers and the agents. It's just a really difficult job. So Zenarate was the first mover in the space, and we are still number one. We have over 200 customers today, many of which you would know if I were to show you the logo. You probably do business with them. You stay at their hotels.
Or worked for them before.
They may offer your insurance plans. They may have been a former employer of Marbu or others. They may be my banker. So these are top reputable brands that have entrusted Zenarate to deliver a solution for them. And it's really easy to understand why. You mentioned it. Reps before you actually jump on and you're in the game. You have to know what you're doing. You have to have the confidence, and we'll talk about confidence, I'm sure, throughout the talk. But that's the high level what Zenarate is, and we've evolved beyond that. We're not just simulations anymore. We deliver kind of a full ecosystem of learning and performance, and that goes anywhere from pre-hire to screening candidates to the actual new hire experience when you're in training, and that's a big focus of ours. But it doesn't end there. Training doesn't end after 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. Nobody's perfect. I don't care how great the training is. And we do continued coaching and performance and auto QA and analytics and insights and all of that. We have AI tutors. I mean, the list goes on. And really, we can be a single learning solution for any company.
Well, look, in a contact center, even the most experienced agents, there's different call types. All call types don't have the same difficulty level. And even the most experienced agents may have some call types that they struggle with that simulations could certainly help them to get better at so that they can, give the customer a better experience. So let's bring the AI angle into this, right? Because, one of the things that really excited me about this whole solution is the fact that you guys are dealing with one of the nuts that people have been trying to crack perennially. They haven't been able to do it. And you guys have a solution that helps them to do it. And there's the AI angle to this solution. So tell us a little bit about how AI contributes to the solution that you guys deliver and how it helps to crack the code on getting people up to speed faster, getting up to speed with more proficiency. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, AI is kind of the engine behind it. The whole point is that we're able to replicate a real life conversation, you and I. If I were to call you, you're my Chase representative, assuming you're my banker, and you answer the call, or Wells Fargo or whichever bank you bank with, hey, I'm having trouble with X. The human needs to know what to do, where to go in the system, how to navigate the software. What if you or me as the caller, I'm like, hey, Marbu, that was cool, but now I need you to help me with this. And then let's go over here. And while I've got you, right? And this is the complexity you were speaking of, even if you're a tenured associate. So AI is the engine behind it, because what we can do is actually replicate all of those real life interactions and is custom to the company. And then we can scale that and deliver it at a consistent scale powered by AI that understands what you're saying and can respond in kind according to how a representative at a Marriott hotel would actually speak to one of their associate customers, or their guests as they refer to them as. So there's so many different opportunities, but AI really powers the opportunity to enable that at a consistent, scalable level across millions and millions of users, truly. But ultimately, what we're trying to deliver is faster proficiency, meaning when I come on board, I think one of the most painful, I'm just speaking from personal experience, most painful experiences of most people's lives is the first day on a new job, or the first day in class, if you're a student. But the first day on a new job, there's a ton of anxiety and anticipation that comes with it, because you went from your previous role, I would assume you're pretty proficient in what you were doing. And now you've stepped into something completely different. And it's a feeling of, oh my gosh, I used to be the expert and now I'm back in grade school. Well, that's okay. That's a normal feeling. What we do, or what the AI does, is it helps individuals stepping into those roles, sales roles, manager coaching roles, things like that, where they have to have human conversations, learn how to deliver those effectively, and learn how to get up to speed as quickly as possible. And really, ultimately, Marbu, the opportunities are endless with AI and CX. And you've seen them, I see them all the time. So yes, Zenarate is providing wonderful solutions, but we're not the only ones out there. There's a lot of great technology providers that have taken the basis of AI and are leveraging it for practical application. This was why I was so attracted to Zenarate, was its practical application.
That's the great thing. You talked about anxiety and people maybe coming in from another role where they were proficient or something like that. But I'll tell you the other side of the story. It's kind of like somebody, you might have the other group of people who come in thinking, how hard can it be? How hard can this be? I'm going to be a customer service, associate.
That would be my oldest son. Thinks he knows everything. Thinks he knows it all.
Yeah. And they think, how hard can it be? And the good thing about having a solution like this is it shows them how hard it can be. But if you come in and you've done the reps and everything like that, how proficient you can be at it, when you get started. For those people who never had that, I think some of them had a rude shock about how hard it could be. Right?
In contact center, I mean, you've got an attrition rate in training that can exceed 15 to 20%. They don't even get to the job. They're just in training and they're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then those that get to the job, there is an attrition that's somewhere between 30% or so that don't make it past 30, 60, 90 days. So you're hitting a point that really is important. And ultimately, what makes us want to stay at a job? We're good at it.
It's fulfilling.
Well, fulfilling. That's great. That's like way out there in the pie, right? But it's more of like, I can do the job.
I can do it. Yeah.
I'm not going to stay at the job if I don't feel confident about my ability. I'm going to go somewhere else, that doesn't make me feel less than. Everybody wants to do well, and we believe in that. I believe in that personally. It's why I jumped into the training space as my career. I just want and I love helping people get to a point where they can succeed.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because you talked about attrition, right? And in some of the places where you all have deployed your solution, what kind of results are you seeing relative to attrition? And you gave some numbers just now about people who never even get to, to the floor. And then people who get to the floor and they don't make it through 30, 60, 90 days. So, I mean, talk to me. What are some of the kinds of results that you guys have seen in terms of, stemming the tide of attrition in some of the places where you all have deployed this?
Fantastic question. Attrition is based on several factors, but ultimately the number one factor, in my opinion, is people aren't prepared to be successful. That's where it all stems from. So in the BPO industry, you ready for a shock number?
I'm listening.
Attrition is about 100%. That's annual attrition. So you may have some months your attrition is 20% of your entire workforce is gone. What? Right? You think about that, that's unsustainable. Financially, it's not sustainable. Experience-wise for the customer, it's not sustainable. And who's going to want to stay if everybody around them is falling like flies? So many things that go into it. Attrition can be 10%, it can be 50, it can be 70, it can be 100. What we see, the core of that I just mentioned around the preparedness level. There's a solution to that though. And the solution is a simple formula that I don't think I created, but I use it all the time. And that is competence promotes confidence, which promotes performance. Mm-hmm. Very simple. Well, how do you become competent in something you know very little to nothing about? Well, you have to learn it, number one, but learning comes in a variety of formats. If you stand in front of me, Marbu, and you preach to me, lecture, how much of that am I going to remember, let alone care about? Very little. Yeah. Statistically speaking, it's 5%, and then diminishing returns after that. Because if I don't do anything with that information, that 5 goes to 4, 3, eventually 0, if there's no repetition. So ultimately, people need to learn and apply. Not a new concept, but one that matters. I'm a sports guy, love sports. In sports, how do you get to proficiency? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Tom Brady, you're Tiger, but those are actually really good examples. Tiger started playing at the age of 2, and he hit more reps than anybody I think that has ever lived on this planet. There's a reason Tiger Woods became Tiger Woods. Yeah. It was practice. It was reps. It was over and over and over and over again. You can never be good enough, in Tiger's opinion. He's said that multiple times.
Yeah. And so let me interrupt you for a second, because when you think about the traditional way that people have been getting customer service associates to go to the floor, they do live role plays. That means they've got to take somebody offline and have them come and role play with the people who they're getting ready to put out there, right? So first of all, regardless of who you're taking offline, whether it's a supervisor or it's another agent, there's only a limited amount of time you can have that person offline. That's right. And it's definitely not enough time to have the amount of reps that are going to make you really ready to go, right? I mean, so like you're talking about, like hitting those reps. And, I just keep thinking about the football example, because if you don't have those quarterbacks getting the reps, throwing to the receivers that they need to hit and all of those kinds of things, you don't have them having those reps. They're not going to be ready, right? No. And so, but I interrupted you. Let me let you continue.
No, I love that. That's actually really good. You're actually talking about a percentage of companies that do role plays. Yeah. Well, many of them don't, or if they do, they're happening amongst new hires who know nothing. Right? Yeah. Hey, I'm going to role play with you, and you're going to role play with me, and we're going to pretend like we know what we're doing. So, again, you're proving my point about the inefficiencies of role play, whether it's cost, time, or effectiveness. There's so many things that go into it. But ultimately, what we are helping with is delivering practice at scale that's consistent, repeatable, and effective. When I have a personal AI coach, we call it, that is something I can practice with. I don't have to worry about my neighbor. I don't have to worry about 10 other, 15 other of my peers watching me. My goodness. I don't care how good you are, and I can talk. But getting up and doing role play in front of, and I still do it today because of my role, where I'm showing and I'm teaching other people these things, it's still nerve-wracking because people are looking at you, right? And sometimes those people, in fact, the majority of times, they're more focused about what those people think than actually the task at hand. So instead of really focusing on the performance and the role play, they're focused on, oh my gosh, what does Tina think? Right? She's right behind me, whatever it is. But my point is, it's private, it's effective, it allows for them to get the reps that they need without shame. And it allows them to learn as they go, training wheels along the way. They gain the competence. Okay, great. So we've taken learning effectiveness from 5% with lecture to 75% with training practice.
That's huge. Let me interrupt you one more time because, again, like we're saying a little bit earlier, I'm in a contact center, and first of all, there's a bunch of different call types, but even if it's the same call type, maybe I'm taking a customer return, maybe I got to do a refund, maybe it's just an inquiry or whatever kind of call it is. Pretty much, even though it's the same call type, just about every call is different. Right?
That's correct.
So with my personal AI coach, does it have the ability to simulate a bunch of different scenarios? So I can go through a whole lot of different examples of what a particular call type might be. Tell me a little bit about that.
It absolutely does. And if you think about what people need to practice, it matters that it's catered to you and your job. So adult learning theory, one of the core precepts or principles of adult learning theory is, does it apply to me? And if it doesn't, don't care. That's true. And in contact center, you're not hiring 13-year-olds. Typically, you're hiring people that are at least 18 years old and into their late ages. They're people that retire in contact centers. So you're talking about a diverse workforce. Ultimately, they need help in delivering the job that they've been hired to do, period. And simulations are great because you can cater or curate them to an individual call type or an individual persona. Because you said things are not the same. You and I get along great, Marbu, but we are different people. We come from different places. We have different backgrounds. You live in New York City. I live in the mountains, right?
Close to it.
Yeah, well, close to it. Yeah. Close enough. So there's a lot that's different. And when I call a company, let's say I call my mobile service provider and you call for the exact same reason, they're not going to be the same call because you're Marbu and I'm Casey. It's just, there's no rinse and repeat call. But learning the foundations of how to help different personas is critical. So we can vary on persona. You can vary on level of difficulty, and you can vary on what they're calling about. Anything can be curated and must be curated. However, I am a huge proponent of this. Don't even attempt to simulate everything. Don't even do it. It's not the point, right? You want to learn, yes, the Pareto principle applies, 80-20. Go with the 80. Go with the ones that are going to be your top call drivers. But skills, Marbu, is what we're focused on. Skills. What are skills? Ultimately, they're behaviors. Human beings exuding behaviors, which we call skills. Empathy, active listening, compliance-related skills, probing questions, how to convert a close for a sale, you name it. Skills transcend scenarios. I preach this often. If you learn a behavior, that behavior or that skill can be applied across many scenarios, across many personas, across many different opportunities, let's call them, in conversation with human beings. So our focus as a company is not to train anything and everything. Our opportunity or focus is, let us train, Marbu, the behaviors that matter to you and your company, and the rest will take care of itself.
Cool. So, one of the things you brought up when you were talking just now was this whole issue of compliance. And I mean, like for industries that have like high compliance and regulatory requirements, like financial services or healthcare or something like that, how does Zenarate, help ensure that agents stay on track while still delivering empathy?
It's a really good question. 3 of the top 4 banks are Zenarate partners. A lot of the top financial services organizations, I don't want to name them here, I'm not going to name drop, but organizations that you have in your wallet do business with us all the time. These are all heavy compliance organizations. And to your point, I think the banks care about compliance.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they,
I know they
I think
do.
their wallets, not no pun intended there, but they care about compliance. Hefty fines that have been levied by the FTC, DOJ, other organizations over the years due to noncompliance. So that is a focus, 100%. But ultimately, who are they? Who is their customer? The government or you and I? It's not the government. It's you and I. So how can you balance compliance with a great customer experience? I'm a believer that it can be done. However, it all determines on it or kind of rides around the culture that a leader within the organization powers down throughout the organization. So if the focus is just compliance, 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 if you're not compliant, you're fired. Well, what tone is that setting internally, which ultimately goes external to the organization? So what we do is, yes, we focus on ingraining compliance into people's brains. But to me, it's kind of like riding a bike, Marbu. Once you know how to ride the bike, you're going to ride it and it's going to be natural. That's what we want the compliance aspect to be. Is not something that's like the whole focus of the conversation. It's just things that you do. Greet them properly. Make sure you read a disclosure about the quality of the conversation and it could be recorded. Credit card disclosures, we all know those types of things. But the focus should be on the customer. And the human touch is where simulations can really help, because we bring that into it, and being able to have simulation practice and then ongoing coaching that can tailor around that is critically important. But you have to focus on what matters most to your customers while remaining compliant. So it is a balance. There's no perfect order to this. We can't eliminate disclosures. The government requires it. We can't eliminate certain procedures. The government requires it. We can't stop detecting fraud. If you're a bank, like, that is your responsibility.
Absolutely.
That's your responsibility. But exactly. But the human being talking to the consumer, whether it's via chat or phone or in person, they need to focus human first. Understand, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I built a simulation. I'm gonna go off on a little thing here, but I like to make things fun. Everybody knows who Ryan Reynolds is. Deadpool actor, Marvel actor, he's in all these movies. So I created a simulation where Ryan Reynolds, his card was stolen and there were some fraudulent transactions and he was calling in and I'm answering the phone call. And I made it fun in that conversation. No, we didn't use his real email or anything like that. But understanding the realities of, I need to make sure to calm this person down and understand them and their panic in this situation. And then I'll help them with resolution. And ultimately, that experience, that touch point, is going to determine whether or not your customers stay with you or they choose to do business elsewhere. And that also actually impacts the agent, or I call them associates, right? The people that are talking to the frontline. Hardest job, I think, in the customer experience or customer service world. They are people too. And I think we need to remember that sometimes. They have a really hard job. And it's even hard for me sometimes, because if their company doesn't set them up for success, I can get frustrated. But now, having been where I've been, I also think twice, calm down a little bit, and then I'm like, hey, I know you probably aren't aware. Maybe you could transfer me to a supervisor who can help me. Is that okay? Right? Like, that human touch. And so it is both ways, but ultimately somebody calling in, Marbu, they're typically a little bit escalated. They're already a little bit frustrated.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes we used to remind people that you might think that the person coming in is a blank slate, but a lot of times they're coming in on the negative side of the ledger. You got to bring them up to zero.
A lot of times. Not you. You're the nicest person I've ever met. You're probably like wanting to have a conversation with them, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe there's another side of you I don't know. When you call.
It might depend on what's going on. Also, but hey, earlier we talked a little bit about the whole attrition thing. But I mean, in places where you've implemented the simulation, the coaching technology.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are some of the kinds of results that you've seen, people get measurable improvements? I mean,
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Let me hit the first and most primary, in my opinion. We talked about speed to proficiency. Average proficiency gains, average 40%. So you're talking people that are learning 40% faster and retaining that information much longer. That ultimately results in lower attrition because performance, going back to our confidence, competence, performance means people are going to stay longer. If I'm doing better in my role, I feel better. I'm going to be getting better praise. I'm likely going to have more opportunities and can make more money. Therefore, people stay. We all know the reasons people leave their jobs. Well, let's talk about the reasons they stay. So those are reasons they stay. Average attrition improvements are around 25%. I could tell you I've seen gains of 10% in an organization that doesn't have high attrition. But in organizations that have high attrition, Marbu, I've seen 70% gains. It's a wide array because it really does matter what your current state is. How good or how not so good are you today versus how we can help you. Personally, when I was leading, our attrition improvement was 35%. But my speed to proficiency improvement, this is me as an operator, pre working at Zenarate, I was purchasing and implementing Zenarate, 65%. So ultimately, my personal experience, we saw a gain of 67% in speed to proficiency. So our timeline to reach proficiency for a new associate was 10 months. Okay. Our average tenure was 11 months. I always pause there because people do the math and they're like, oh my gosh. So you had 30 days of competent, high-performing agents? That's right, an average. Well, why do you think people didn't last a year? That's the reason. We got that down to 4 months implementing Zenarate. And having a partner that can help you deliver the goals that you need to hit, but also that do have an impact on your business is first and foremost critical. So that helped us.
Translate to real dollars.
These are real dollars. We're talking.
It translate to real dollars.
We're talking millions of dollars. And another one that people don't think about is, well, if you're getting to proficiency faster, do you have to spend 40 days in a classroom or 20 days or 30 days, depending on how long the training is? If I'm getting hired at a financial services company, my training is going to be longer than if I get hired at Netflix, right? It's just the reality of the call type. And what we're doing is accelerating learning. What's so great, though, is that learning accelerates. We can also decrease the amount of time they spend in training, which is lost productivity because businesses care about that. You're not getting any productive hours out of that person while they sit in the classroom. Zero. They're not adding any value to your organization until they start doing the actual job. So we reduce on average 20% of classroom time. And that can be a 20% straight dollars savings, or it can be a 30-40% dollar savings, depending on your organization and your cost structure. The numbers are real. They add up. And when you turn over people less, that adds up too, because it's on average, this is USD. This includes people all over the globe, 14,000 to replace a human associate.
Great.
And that's average. If you're in the US, try 30 to 40K. So it's significant. Each percentage that you drop, if you're a large organization, that can transcend into many, many millions of dollars.
Yeah, and that's just the replacement cost. There's the lost productivity. There's all these other kinds of things.
Well, in the impact of your customer, right? Because if you don't have a workforce that's delivering, or maybe you're short on staff, we all know we've experienced that disaster. Right?
In fact, absolutely, and that was actually where I was going. What about customer experience? I mean, people measure that a bunch of different ways, but what do you guys see in terms of customer experience, in terms of improvements there?
Well, the start is with the humans inside your organization. So your employees, we already hit that. Mm-hmm. The end is with customer experience. So what do they want? They want faster service. They want higher quality service. They want first call resolution, and they want agent competence more than anything. Do you know those surveys that go out every year? You would think, the number one thing that they would want is, I want them to be kind to me. I want a friendly conversation. I want bells and whistles, whatever. No. The number one thing people want is when I talk to somebody, when I call my mobile provider, when I call my cable company, when I call my bank, I want somebody to know what in the heck they are doing.
Yes,
and they need to be able to exude the confidence for me. So I know I'm being taken care of. I don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, is this actually going to go anywhere? Do I have to escalate? It already took me 10 minutes to get to a human agent. That's a whole different conversation. And now
I don't want to do agent shopping.
That's right. And then go back and go in. So many different things happen, but it's because of the poor experience being delivered. That's it. That's the reality. People are going to find a way to get what they need. And if I have to call again, Marbu, about the same thing, I'm extremely frustrated at that point. It's hard to get off a call in less than 10 minutes when you call, let alone how long you're waiting in line.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. So that's what they want. Competence that will deliver a faster result, a quality result, and me not having to call you again. Thank you very much.
Yep. So, just by what you're explaining there, I'm taking it that you guys see measurable improvements on how customers are feeling. How do agents respond to the private AI coach or personal AI coach?
They love it. NPS is 97, 98% with the agents. And there's one reason why. Well, there's many, but there's one principal reason why. It's because we are helping augment their skill set so that they can be successful. Period. I don't care anything else. Lovely platform. Oh, there's badging. Oh, it's, branded. All these things are great. But ultimately, what they care about is, are you going to help me succeed in my job? Because this is my living we're talking about here. And if the answer is yes, and they feel it, and I know they feel it, that's where the 97, 98% comes. There's always a few people that don't like anything. Okay. You're never going to get 100% satisfaction. I don't care if you're Nordstrom, you're not getting 100% satisfaction. Just people are people, but ultimately they love it because it helps enable their success.
So in terms of, implementing this into a company, what do you see as some of the biggest hurdles? I mean, and this is an AI solution. Right now everybody's gung-ho about AI and everything like that, but sometimes there's obstacles. What do you see as some of the biggest hurdles to getting this implemented into a company?
What I've seen is the leadership needs to understand how to help the front line understand how this is going to benefit them. That's where it starts. If they think it's some scary technology that's coming in and is going to take their job, or it's a waste of time, or we've had all this before, there's skepticism naturally, which is why adoption of new tech is very challenging. But ultimately, you need to help people understand how it is going to benefit them. Once they understand that, huge hurdle crossed, massive. Mm-hmm. Then they kind of take their guard down. And from there, it's actually more a struggle on the leadership side of the house. So there's two different things that come to mind. Number one is not knowing how to think about where to deliver or how to deliver the content. But also number two, most leaders, unfortunately, don't understand the learning science behind role play and practice. What I mean by that is I think naturally we all know that when we practice, we do better. We've already talked about this. Well, then why are massive organizations, I'm not going to name names, still doing traditional learning methods of lecture and e-learning and PowerPoints and boring things and role play that's not effective? Why? I don't know the full answer to that, but I do know that not everybody is as passionate about frontline learning as you and me. Okay. and so I had to study, I had to kind of figure things out as I went. And ultimately learning science is what drove my success. Once I understood the 5 to 75% power of retention, once I understood Zig Ziglar's repetition is the mother of all learning, once I understood these principles, I was able to effectively strategize on how to deliver to those principles. So I mentioned learn and apply earlier, Marbu. That is the equation. How quickly can I introduce a topic to you as my learner? And then how quickly can I get you to practice it? That's the key to success. Most people just don't naturally understand that. They're like, oh, we have all this curriculum. We have to get out through all these things, et cetera, et cetera. We have to do all these PowerPoints. No, you don't. What are you trying to achieve? Rewrite your curriculum and then go. So that's actually the challenges we've seen. It's not so much been budget. It's not so much been fit or need or AI councils, which are now a thing, but we're able to power through those at this point. It's actually the leaders not knowing how to do it. Interesting, right? So it's the selling internally of the value, but also the leaders not really kind of knowing where the left shoe goes and so on and so forth. But when you find leaders that do, my goodness, it flies. It flies in a big way.
Cool. So you guys have got this AI simulation thing. You've got it working. Like you said, you got 200 plus companies or customers, and these are business customers, obviously.
Yeah, all B2B, and most of them are very, very large brands. Yeah, so we're business.
So what other opportunities do you see for AI making a difference in the CX space?
I think there's endless opportunities, but as far as really short to near term, let's say next 5 years, there's opportunities where we need to take advantage of them. And what I really think about is you got to know the problem you're trying to solve first. So ultimately that comes with, well, what do people want? Like what is
with
the
use case, not with the technology.
Yes, with the use case. And then find the technology to fit the gap. I'm going to give you an example. Everybody thought chat bots, this was 12 years ago, right? Chat bots are going to save us so much money. We're going to deflect so many calls. Great.
That word deflection makes me cringe. But keep going.
It makes me cringe. But what was I'll let you tell everybody what was the result of that.
Well, I mean, obviously it didn't work. I mean, what happened was we got people, into infinite loops that got them frustrated. We got people into dead ends that got them frustrated. We got them into all these different things that got them frustrated. And so basically they checked out on it.
That's right. They checked out, but not only that, they got pissed.
Oh, absolutely.
So if I'm calling you and I'm a 4 out of 10 frustrated, and you put me in a loop with a chatbot, I am now 9 or 10 out of 10 frustrated by the time I get to that human being. So not only are you upsetting your end customer, you're also putting your human people that work for you in a horrible position. Because now they're that have to deal with your incompetence as leaders of the company because you thought you could save a few bucks and cut a few corners. So my reason for telling you that is just because the technology exists does not mean it should be used. Let's start there. Funny coming from a guy who works for a technology company, right? The technology has to be practical to be applied. So chatbots were not practical because they didn't work. People didn't want them. I would rather self-serve on your website than call in and talk to a chatbot. So we were solving the wrong problem. It wasn't trying to eliminate calls. It was trying to prevent the calls in the first place. That's where we should have started, right? So I'm getting to the point where, okay, people still want to not have to call you. They want to be able to solve things on the front end. And when they do get to an agent, which will happen, human agents will never go away. Can't convince me otherwise. I do think, though, in the next 10 years, 50% or so of human agents will be replaced with AI. I believe that. We're already seeing it to an extent, but here's my caution. The technology is still a little bit early. So there are things you can do that make it work, and other things don't touch it because it's going to exacerbate the issues. So we've already kind of talked about that. But finally, the technology is getting better. Let me ask you a question, Marbu. Practicality. You ever use ChatGPT to help you?
Sure.
How often?
I do. Well, maybe not as often as I should, but I don't use it all the time, but I use it to help me sometimes.
When you have something like a presentation or something to put together, ChatGPT, where we used to go and do research, and it could take us hours to pull together all these websites, it does it for you.
That's right.
It
can summarize things very quickly.
It contextualizes it how you want it to be delivered. And then if it's not quite right, you just ask it to adjust. That's practical application.
Yes.
Right there. That is practical application. I would pay for that service, and most people do. And OpenAI and Claude and all these companies are making millions, if not billions of dollars off of this convenience factor. So that's me telling you something that's practical and it's ready. Now, can we take that to replace human beings and phone calls? Some of it. What about in chats? We see it everywhere now. I haven't chatted one company that started with a human agent. It's now all AI agents in the front end. Can I help you with this? But it's all canned, and it's not quite the experience we're looking for. But I also have had an experience where now you can chat, no pun intended, you can chat with ChatGPT and have a conversation, like a legitimate conversation. And I sometimes struggle to notice if chat is chat, like it's an AI. It sounds real. Marbu, it's weird, but people have relationships with AI.
Oh, I hear you.
It's a whole thing right now. So that's beyond practical. That's a little bit out there, but that's what I'm saying is the technology has come that far to where, you know what, if you talk to me like that and we're able to practically resolve my issue, I would be much more likely to engage with you and quit hitting zero and saying, get me to a human agent. Yeah. We're almost there. We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. On certain areas, we are there, and that's okay. But my point is,
you have to retrain people about chatbots because their history tells them, I don't want to use this.
We scared the crap out of everybody because of the terrible experience. That's right.
So, Casey, sorry to say, we're just about out of time.
I can't believe it. Yeah. So is it that I talk too much, or is that you ask just the best questions?
Well, how about I just ask the best questions, right?
I like it.
Hey, but I've enjoyed our conversation, so I want to thank you for spending the time with me. And I know our audience is going to get a lot out of this. If people want to continue this conversation with you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Casey Denby out there. I've tried it a few times. So you'll see my name, connect with me there. I do engage in my inbox, but I'm of the belief that, you want to engage with people to benefit, mutual benefit. And, it's great to be able to connect with people. I like following your journey. I love going out and being able to connect with you live and talk to these different brands where we just want to know what's going on and we learn from them, and it's phenomenal. So can't wait for the next one, Marbu. Just really appreciate you and everything you're doing in this space. It's been a privilege.
Hey, man, I've enjoyed having you on the program. And I want to say thank you to all those who have tuned in and listened to us. And, I'm going to say, hey, come back again next time because we're going to have another great guest for you. And we're going to dig into these topics that are of prime interest to you. So thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again on Be Customer Led. But for today, we're out.
Thanks for listening to Be Customer Led with Marbu Brown. We are grateful to our audience for the gift of their time. Be sure to visit us at becustomerled.com for more episodes. Leave us feedback on how we're doing or tell us what you want to hear more about. Until next time, we're out.